everybody, Coach Brandon here. Today I'm going to be going over our week 4 curriculum for this month, the month of August. And week 4 involves taking our opponent's elbow out and away from the center line with using the inside wrist grip. And then from there we can pass our leg underneath the arm, getting to a trap triangle. And then from the trap triangle we're going to have the front triangle obviously, and then I'm going to show you guys a few other finishes as well. But first, let's kind of recap what we've been going over the last month or so. Sparking our Adams inside the closed guard. So far we've been looking at taking our opponent's arm across the center line and going into a side scissor position. From there we can start to take it back. Then we looked at taking the arm. Maybe I can't get it all the way across the center line, but I can pull it close to my center line, inside my hip. From inside my hip, I can begin the process of wiping my legs up the back, locking a good top lock, and finishing our arm bar from there, or going into pendulum sweeps is a great option from the top lock as well. Then last week, we looked at taking our hands inside, breaking his hands down to the mat, and getting in here to the clamp position. From the clamp, obviously we can go into triangles, and we've got many more submissions we can go into off there. Submissions are position fights. Now this week we're looking at the inside wrist, which is going to be this position here. I keep his arm all the way out and away from my center line. If I keep a good inside wrist grip, Adam goes to fight his hand back into my chest, and he's not able to do so. Now with holding his wrist way out wide like this, it's not so difficult for me to take my left foot through the leg, and now we're into a trap triangle. Here we can go into triangle finishes or a number of other options. So, I'm going to change the angle now. Let's look at some of our options for getting into the inside wrist position first. Once we go over a few different options, then we can start going into finishes off the trap triangle. So, we have 3 really good options for getting into the inside wrist position. I can take my hands to the inside, break his hands to the mat like so. I can take a 2-on-1 wrist grip on the lead arm, or I can take a 2-on-1 wrist grip on the trail arm or the rear arm. Okay, so we're going to go through these 3 options first, and we're going to talk about how to pass our leg through to the trap triangle. So from this position first, just inside position, I take my 2 hands inside or underneath and inside of Adam's arms. He's going to be, if he's framing against my chest, so I can't break him down. I go underneath and inside. My hands come up to my shoulders and they take his hands and wrists off my body. Once I have his hands off my body, now I'm going to start engaging my legs. I'm going to do a knee pull. Put his hands on the mat and break his posture. From here I hug his head elbow deep to control the posture. And I begin to use a left knee shrimp to get onto my side, almost like I'm going into the clamp from last week. Now, rather than getting into the clamp and bringing my knee through, I leave my right knee where it is, and rather, I extend my body away, and I snatch an inside wrist grip. Now, this inside wrist grip is really strong as long as you're doing it properly. One thing is I need to keep control of Adam's posture. Okay? Right now, if I control Adam's posture and he tries to bring his hand back to the inside position, he can't. If I let Adam's posture, he goes to fight his hand away, he can get that thing away. So we got to keep the posture controlled. Point number 2, I want the joint of my thumb, the base joint right here, to be higher than his wrist, higher off the floor. Let's rotate a little bit out. If I'm holding like this, and I have a straight wrist grip just like so, with my thumb joint lower than his wrist, down here, when Adam goes to put his hand in my chest, he's going to be fighting through my thumb. That's all. As long as he's able to overpower my single digit, he's going to be able to bring that hand back into the center. When I take my thumb joint higher than his wrist by bending my wrist backward, now when he goes to fight his hand back to the inside position, he's running into my hand, the heel of my hand, and my palm, as opposed to here where he goes through my thumb, he goes through so easy. When he tries to go through the heel of my hand and my palm, very hard. So, control the posture, and keep that wrist bent back as you keep the wrist out and away. All right, let's rotate. So we're here. Now comes the time to pass my right leg underneath of this arm. So what I do here, I start to climb my left leg higher up on the arm, higher up on the back. That will allow me to start to pressure and extract my leg a little bit, just like we did out of the clamp. I want my wrist grip to be pushing his hand up. The higher I get his hand or arm, the easier it is for me to get my foot through. If his hand is low, my foot will not really go through very well at all. I take his hand high, and I can pass my foot through. Now, oftentimes, you're not going to need to bring his hand high. Oftentimes, he's going to bring his hand high for you. Because when he realizes he can't bring his hand back to the center, he's going to try to free his hand. The only way you can free it is by pulling away. And as he pulls away, that gives me more room to feed my leg through, and we get to a trap triangle. So that was getting to the inside wrist position and to the trap triangle, starting with inside position, breaking the hands down to the floor. Now let's look at another very strong method that involves 2-on-1 gripping. Let's understand the importance of 2-on-1 grip. If I were to grab Adam's wrist 1-on-1 just like so, every 1-on-1 grip has an inherent weakness. It's going to be here where my thumb and my fingers meet. If Adam pulls his hand out of that direction, he's going to be able to free his hand. Okay? If he tries to bring his hand in the other direction, he's going to run right into my palm. He tries to go out that way. So it doesn't make sense to try to break into the strength of the grip. He wants to go out to the weakness of the grip. But when I take a 2-on-1 grip, the strength of my right hand covers the weakness of my left hand, and vice versa. So now if Adam tries to move his hand in either direction, he runs into a strong palm. So that's side to side. He can't pull back either because the human arm gets narrower and narrower as it gets to the wrist, and then when it gets to the hand, it widens. So there's a sense where his arm is something like a rope with a knot tied at the end of it. If I'm grabbing and I start sliding down the rope and Adam goes to pull away, that hand's gonna get caught. Okay? So if I take a 2-on-1 wrist grip, whether it's palm down or palm up, Adam goes to pull away from this, it's not easy. So we're gonna use this mechanical advantage of 2-on-1 gripping in order to get to the inside wrist position. So in a situation where maybe my opponent knows I want to break his posture down, he might gather up my two lapels and frame against my sternum. Now when I go to break his posture, that hand stops me from breaking his posture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 2-on-1 wrist grip, just like so, with my straight grip at the end of the lever, because that's going to be the one that's going to control the wrist when I take his arm out for the inside wrist position. I'm going to use switch arms at him. That way we'll be working on the camera side here. So in this case, his right arm here is his lead arm, so I'm going to take a straight wrist grip, and then my left hand can either go over the top, or it can go side by side. Either one is okay. I'm going to use my 2-on-1 grip to break his lapel grip, and once his hand's off my body, now he no longer has a hand to face and stop me from breaking his posture. Even if his hand is here, even if it's on my pants, that's fine. This base is not far enough forward. I'm just going to pull his weight right over the top of that hand. If you were to take his hand up to my chest, now that's going to be a problem. But a lot of people be back with this arm, so it's not really an issue. So we're here. This is the arm that's facing, right? I go to pull. That's the arm that's stopping it from getting broken down. So I go 2-on-1. I break. My knee pulled, and I take his arm out and away. Now from here we have the inside wrist grip. From here you guys know what to do. We're going to get on our side. We're going to climb the left leg up the back. Push the wrist off the floor, and feed the leg through. So that's a 2-on-1 wrist grip on the lead hand. Now, let's talk about dealing with an opponent who's even more savvy. He's going to gather my two lapels with the lead sternum post, and he grips my hand here. So now I go to make my 2-on-1 wrist grip, and I can't do it. He's physically controlling my right hand. So in situations like this, I'm going to take my left hand underneath of Adam's arm. That's important. Okay, let me get this out of the way with that hand. I'm going to take my left hand underneath of this arm, and that's going to be important because when I go to lift everything with the 2-on-1 wrist grip, watch how my left arm is going to have taken that arm out of my way. Now that that hand is no longer posting on my sternum, I'll be able to break the posture. Understand that if I go over and he has a straight arm, and I go over, let's just, so they can see. If I were to grab the other hand and I go to pull, this hand is going to stop me from breaking this posture. Okay? So, he takes these grips. I can't do anything with this hand, I go to grab, he holds it away. So my left hand goes underneath, and I take a wrist grip just like so. I'm not gripping the cuff, I'm gripping his body, the wrist. Now from here, I could try to break the grip by pushing away and pulling, and sometimes you'll break the grip that way. But I think I tend to find more success when I take my hand underneath and to the outside. Now my left hand on the wrist pulls, and my right hand straightens and pushes, and we pop the grip off. Once the grip is off, I take my 2-on-1 grip, I pull everything up and over my head, and my left arm is going to take Adam's right hand off my chest. Now he has no ability to base, and I pull him with my knees, pulling everything up overhead, and then out and away. I immediately control the posture so he can't bring his right hand back and away. Remember, if I don't control the posture, that hand can go back. So we're here. Thumb joint higher than his wrist. From here, I get on his side, climb up the body, lift the wrist, and we pass through to a trap triangle. So 3 great options for getting to the inside wrist grip that work very well. You can do this gi or no gi just as well. We can go inside position. We can go 2-on-1 on the lead hand. Or, if he has a grip, we can go 2-on-1 on the rear hand. Okay? 3 good options. Now, let's talk about some finishing options when I actually get to a trap triangle. So let's say, however he decides to grip up on me. Okay, he's going with this one, so I go underneath, grip, pop, and we're here. I get through my trap triangle. Now, from this position, my left hand went from hugging on the elbow to a collar tie with the wrist. I went from controlling his posture with my elbow to controlling his posture with my wrist. Okay? Now, never let go of the posture once you get a trap triangle. Adam's first thing is going to be to sit back on his heels, posture up, and now it's going to be hard for me to finish the triangle. So knowing that that's one of the main defenses, I always need to keep something controlling the posture until I get to a full figure 4. As long as I can only cross my ankles or get my foot to my calf, I need to control the posture. It's not until I get to a full figure 4 that now, if he tries to posture up, it's going to be hard for him. So we're here at the collar tie. Now I want to get an angle, so I take my right hand and I take a scoop grip. If his leg is too far away and I can't get a scoop grip on the leg, I'll scoop with my elbow on the arm and I'll start to pull myself to an angle using this. Oftentimes this will pull me part of the way, and now sometimes I can reach down and get that scoop grip on the leg that I really wanted. So I take my scoop grip, I pull myself to an angle, and I make sure his shoulder is out of the triangle. From here, the back of my knee covers the front of his neck. My left knee wedges down to hold his head in place so he can't posture up. And now I lock my figure 4 for the choke. So that is our basic front triangle finish. But that's not the only option we have out of the trap triangle. We got some other options depending on how he defends. Okay? Let's rotate that over here. So, we got a trap triangle. We're here. Now, Adam maybe has his arm just like so. Okay, so if I try to get my scoop grip and I try to go out and away, this tricep, the elbow, is stopping my left leg from coming up and excluding the shoulder. So another good option we can have here is an armbar variation. Japanese term was used teigatami. I don't have an English translation for this, and I'm sorry. But I take my hand on his elbow, and I cover his wrist with my armpit. From here, my left leg steps on the lat, and I pinch my knee in. Now from here, keeping his posture controlled here with my right leg, I begin to hip up, driving my left hip bone and my left hand into his elbow, going up. And it doesn't look like much, but it's a very fast armbar. be careful with this one with your training partners. If you just pop into this one really fast, you can hurt your opponent or your partner. So get this control, pinch your elbow in, pinch your knee in, everything goes up, and we get a good break on that arm. Another option from the trap triangle. Let's say he keeps the elbow on the outside, but now he doesn't give me access to the wrist. He's going to hide his wrist, just like so, yeah? Oftentimes people put it inside the thigh, just like that. So now I can't do the arm bar. So from here, I usually like to attack either omoplatas or femoras. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to take an opposite triangle. Normally when we lock a triangle, we lock it on the side of the shoulder that's inside, or the arm that's inside the triangle. For an opposite triangle, I'm going to lock my figure 4 on the head side, right here. Now, this is not going to be good for choking him, but this is very good for control. It's a very tight control of his head and shoulders. Now I need to extract the wrist. I can't just reach down and pull the wrist out. No one's going to let me do that. So I use my hips to extract the wrist. I bring the points of my shoulders down to the mat. I hip up and keep that in there. That's fine. Just like grab your thigh, grab your exactly. Now when I hip up, watch how my hip is going to drag Adam's grip off, and I get a grip on the wrist. I come down, reach over, grab my Kimura grip. Now to tighten everything up, I'm going to first pull his elbow into my armpit to establish the bottom power line. So I bring the elbow close to the shoulder line first, and now I want to pull his elbow down to the floor. Okay, very, very tight Kimura grip there. Other options we have from this, another common problem from this position is maybe I can't extract the wrist. No problem. I frame my elbow against his head and neck, and I push my foot in front of the face. Look at that, watch how I do this. I grab, just like so, palm up or palm facing me. Now I'm going to flip my elbow around my foot. My elbow goes from below my heel to above. And as I go from a pulling grip, where my palm faces me, to a pushing grip where my palm faces away. And now I can sort of push away, and I can come up into an omoplata. Sometimes you get submissions out of this. More commonly, your opponent's going to roll, and you're going to score a sweep out of the position with the omoplata. So far we've covered the front triangle. We covered the Tegatame armbar, where I pinch the wrist and I hold the elbow and step on the leg. We've now looked at a Kimura, where he hides his arm behind his leg. I lift my hips, I get my Kimura grip. Now we looked at an omoplata, where maybe I can't access the wrist, so I bring my foot in front of the face, and I go into an omoplata for either the submission, or more realistically, a sweep. I want to show a couple more options for this. If you can't finish the triangle, if you can't finish the choke, you can still attack the arm. And that's what I generally preach to my students. If you have a fully locked in triangle, and you can get to a full figure 4 and you can't finish, or if you can't even get to a full figure 4, attack the arm with an arm bar. So from a trap triangle, alright, maybe if he started here, he gets whatever grip he wants. He's going with this one, very, very good grip for him. I go underneath, wrist grip, pommel, strip the grip, 2-on-1, inside wrist, wrist up, pass through, okay? All these good things. Now, I'm here in my trap triangle. Maybe I can lock a figure 4, but his shoulder's inside, or I lock a figure 4 and I'm trying to pull down on the hand, I'm trying to squeeze, nothing's working. I can either finish with the overwrap armbar like I just showed, where I pinch his wrist with my elbow, I control his elbow with my hand, and I start to hip up. There's an armbar there. Or if his hand comes in front of my body, I go 2-on-1, just like the 2-on-1 wrist, like we talked about in setting up the inside wrist position. I hip up, and I break his arm over my hip bone. Now sometimes I can just pull and push, or sometimes I have to pass my arm through and get here. And if he rotates his arm to avoid the arm bar, well, no problem. Now we go right back into our Kimuras or our omoplatas. So hopefully you guys are seeing how all this pieces together. There's one more situation I want to share with you guys. Some of you were not blessed with long legs, and you really struggle to lock a figure four. You have shorter legs, and just a figure four just does not seem to be a great option for you. You can finish a 3/4 arm bar from the bottom position. And can you lay on your back? Right here. Just like that. Oh, you can. Do you remember from the arm bar position, we have a 3/4 arm bar? We have a full arm bar here, where my leg, I have a torso leg and a crossface leg. And then we have a 3/4 arm bar, where I pass my torso leg here and I back heel. The benefit of the 3/4 arm bar is that whenever Adam sits up, he sits up right into my triangle. We can use this 3/4 arm bar from the guard position. From here, maybe I have shorter legs and I can only really get out of my calf muscle. I can't get all the way to the back of my knee. When I see this kind of thing happen, all we need to do is get a slight angle. So I'm going to use my left knee to perform a knee swivel off his shoulder to get to an angle. And I can also use my right leg to push his head away. So I don't want to be square on for this. If I'm square on, I can't get my leg over the head very well. So I bring my calf up to the shoulder muscle, or my knee up to the shoulder, and I perform a knee pivot, or a knee swivel. Now my left leg comes over the head, I cross my ankles. I don't normally cross my ankles when I arm bar from the bottom position, but in a 3/4 arm bar, specifically like this, I will. If my leg is here, I do not cross my ankles, I just curl. But for a 3/4 arm bar, I like to cross my ankles because I have a very narrow place to put my legs. So I cross my ankles so everything fits onto the head. And then to make sure that you can't posture up or pull away, I take my 2 heels and I pull them into my butt. Now from here, I take the hand down, I lift my hips, and we have a good 3/4 arm bar from the guard position. Again, that is a good option to use anytime, maybe you have shorter legs and you can't get that full figure four lock, you can only really get to the ankles or maybe the calf muscle. Transitioning off to a 3/4 arm bar is a great option. Or you can bring the other leg over the head and start going into an omoplata. So, 3 good ways to set up the inside wrist, and a number of good attacks from the triangle. Let's just quickly recap them. Inside wrist, we get inside position, take the hands out and away. I can go 2-on-1 on the lead hand, knee pull, bring the hand out to the side. Or I can go underneath the lead arm and take 2-on-1 on the rear hand. Everything goes up and away, hand out to the side, control the posture. Okay, now that's the inside wrist position. Now that we have the inside wrist position, holding that wrist out to the side, now we have to be able to get to the trap triangle. I get onto one hip, I shrimp, I perform a knee shrimp off my opponent, I get to one hip. My top leg climbs high on the body, I push the wrist high so I can pass my leg underneath and get to a trap triangle. Then from the trap triangle, we have a number of good options. First and foremost, that I want you focusing on and developing is the front triangle. Standard figure four front triangle. If our opponent uses the elbow to block out our leg, so we can't get to a good triangle, we can't exclude the shoulder, now we can use that Tegatami arm bar. Control the elbow, step on the lat, and hip up. If my opponent hides that arm so I can't arm bar, then we have the opposite triangle combined with hipping up into the kimura. Or we can go to an omoplata, pushing the head away, getting our foot in front of the face. Oftentimes the omoplata will become a sweep. Other option we have from the trap triangle, if I cannot lock a figure four, I was not blessed with long legs, then we can go into a 3/4 arm bar. Or if you were blessed with long legs and you get to a figure four but you can't finish, I generally recommend to focus on finishing by attacking the arm. If no matter what you do, you just can't seem to close off their air and their blood flow, keep a tight control of the head and shoulders with your figure four. Don't undo your figure four. That's a great control. Keep the figure four, and then focus 2-on-1 gripping on their single arm. The strength of your 2 arms working at the end of the lever on their single arm, you should always be able to overpower that arm and get it into a good breaking position, whether it's with an arm bar or a kimura. All right. I hope this gives you guys a lot to work on, a lot to think about this week as we keep marching forward in our closed guard. This is going to do it for our August curriculum. Now next month, September, we're going to start looking at 4 more weeks of closed guard. The first 3 weeks are going to be all about sweeps. And then the last week is what to do when an opponent stands up inside your closed guard. Okay, week one is flower sweep and pendulum sweep. Week 2 is the scissor sweep. Week 3 is the hip sweep. And week 4 is how do you deal with a more knowledgeable, skilled, and talented opponent who looks to stand up to break open your closed guard. And we're going to see all that next month. Thanks for watching, guys.